Hello, and welcome to Songs for the Struggling Artist, the blogcast. Thank you for listening to this much belated episode. It has been more than 3 weeks since I last blogcasted at you. And that's because I was out of the country for 2 of those weeks and traveling kind of on either end as well. So it's been a time, and now I have come back and finally get a minute to record this blogcast. I'm just going to warn you now that I don't think there's going to be a song at the end of this particular blogcast. Not because I'm changing the format in 2019 or anything like that. This is the first podcast in 2019, so I'm not changing the format. I just, because I was away for so long, and I did not have my guitar with me, my calluses are gone. They're just gone. So the song that I have been working on a little bit since I got back a couple of days ago, and by working on, I mean sort of since today is the first time I've managed to really get my hands on the guitar. So the guitar is just not up to recording just yet. I do have a song in the works that luckily will apply to the next blogcast just as easily as it does to this one. It's a kind of dual purpose song, so I don't think I'm going to manage it before I get to the end of recording this blogcast just now, but it's coming. So apologies in advance. I'm warning you now. There will probably be no song. If at the last minute I figure out how to play that F sharp minor chord without sounding like garbage, I will do it. But I have not yet solved that problem. I will tell you all the crazy things I tried, though, because I was like, okay, this song that I'm working on is literally, except for the bridge, just 3 chords. At least the way I'm playing it. So I was like, oh, my iPad has GarageBand on it, and it has this crazy thing where you can, like, play the iPad as if it were a guitar. Like, you just kind of tap at these chord lines and you get, so you can play all 3. But first of all, the sound quality is terrible. And second of all, this song does have a bridge where it goes out of key a little bit. I don't think it changes key per se, but there are a bunch of chords that don't fit into the standard iPad selection. So I did not play the song on the iPad, which is good for everybody because it would have anyway. So just hang on for the next blogcast to get some music. This one you're gonna get a blog, which that's normal, but it is called "In Praise of Violence Onstage." While writing my last fundraising email for my company's feminist Measure for Measure, I found myself going on a bit of a rant about the response to the violence in our show. I realized advocating for violence was probably not a particularly wise way to ask for money, so I stopped myself before I went too far. And going too far is what I was talking about. Many don't experience Measure for Measure the way I do. They don't feel the multitude of injustices stacking up against the women in this play as anything to get too upset about. It's a comedy, after all. I mean, sure, Angelo's a hypocrite, but he just wants to sleep with an aspiring nun. Is that so wrong? Sure, the Duke sits by and watches people's lives torn apart, actively participating and lying to make their experience more dramatic and painful, and setting up sadistic scenario after sadistic scenario. But it all works out in the end, right? And he marries Isabella. Apologies if you don't know what I'm talking about and you're not familiar with Measure for Measure. Stick around. There's more non-Shakespearean violence to come. I understand the prevailing feeling that these men are not so bad and therefore don't deserve to be murdered in a bloodbath at the end of the play, for example. Yes, that was our ending. Spoiler alert. Certainly, yes, there are worse men. Lavinia's rapists, Imogen's almost rapists, Kate's rapist husband. Oh, wait, you probably meant murderers. Violence is used against women over and over throughout Shakespeare's plays and also the entirety of Western literature and entertainment. And over again, in text after text, image after image, women just have to sit there and take it. Men avenge women's deaths and rapes, but the women themselves are just dead, or damaged, or made dead due to their damage. I'm looking at you, sweet Lavinia. Never, never do the women get to avenge themselves. Never do they get to grab a sword and make everyone pay for their agony. And you know what? That's what I need. Catharsis has been for men for as long as there has been drama, and it's about goddamn time women got some of that sweet, sweet catharsis ourselves. When I started this Measure for Measure experiment, I was clear that catharsis is what I was seeking, and clear that only violence could do the job. Not everyone agreed with me. Despite being a cast of women, there were many among them who did not feel that blood needed to be drawn. Many felt that the sins committed by the men in power in the play were not so bad. The bloodbath I had in mind did not seem commensurate with the crime. Yeah, it's probably true. Probably there are many men in Shakespeare who deserve to get murdered by angry women more than Angelo and the Duke do. I'll leave those deaths for someone else to stage, but for me, to experience a genuine catharsis at the end of a show was worth every possible injustice in it. I have seen so many women assaulted, raped, and murdered on stage and on screen. I could not begin to count the victims I've seen in my theater-going, TV-watching, film-viewing lifetime. For ages, a woman's presence in a work of drama was for the sole purpose of getting the hero justifiably angry, so he could have his catharsis at the end. Women have mostly been cast to be the victims. That's what an ingenue is for. I have a theater friend who moved to LA to work in film and TV and has had a fair amount of success. She has played almost exclusively victims. Her reel is just like a parade of violence and abuse against her. Did she deserve any of that? Did all the women who have been abused, assaulted, raped, and murdered on stage and on screen deserve all those things? But it was all for men's catharsis. I need some damn catharsis now. You think Shakespeare wasn't interested in violence? I mean, crack open a copy of Titus Andronicus. It wasn't enough for Lavinia to be raped by her stepbrothers, but no, they had to cut out her tongue and cut off her hands as well. Then her father kills her, out of mercy. Did Lavinia deserve that? I killed Angelo and the Duke, and Lucio, just for fun, on stage. Not just for the women in the play, for Isabella and Mariana and Mistress Overdone, but also for Lavinia. And you know what? It's also for Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, because we can't drag her assailant out of the Supreme Court without causing a whole heap of trouble. So we kick the Duke in the balls. If we kick the Duke in the balls, maybe, just maybe, no actual balls will need to get kicked. If we don't find outlets for our fury in the safety of our stages, if we don't get catharsis in some way or another, I can't promise the rage that has been building low these 5,000 years won't burst forth into a real live bloody revolution. If the woman-on-man violence makes you uncomfortable to watch, that's appropriate. That's what it's been like for women watching women be victimized all these years. I'm kind of imagining some restorative dramatic justice. For every rape or sexual assault or domestic violence plot, I'm going to need 2 kicks in the balls and at least 2 violent murders. And we've got a lot of catching up to do theater and cinema-wise, so we might have to kick and kill in some gray areas for a while. Maybe what Louis C.K. did wasn't so bad on the shitty scale. Not as bad as rape, certainly, but in anything he's in next, he's going to need to be brutally attacked or he's never going to work again. So saith the scales of theatrical justice. So, that's my rallying cry for more violence on stage. It was really satisfying to create an actual catharsis. I don't think I've ever experienced one before. It feels good. And I know that at least one man in the audience was so uncomfortable, and he really didn't get it. And I sympathize for sure. And we had a long conversation, and I think he before he left, he said, I always make him think. So, that's good. I would be curious to see, because like the project really was, how can I build the play so that having an incredible bloodbath at the end would feel right. That it didn't come out of nowhere. Like you just like watch a whole play and then all of a sudden there's a bloodbath, which is not what I was looking for. I was looking for a way to kind of construct the piece so that it made sense that there was a bloody revolution at the end. And I think I got the idea. I'd really need to do an actual full production to know for sure. But yeah, it was very interesting to do, and even the cast members who were not so sure about the violence, I think, had a good time. So yeah, and everybody enjoys doing the violence. So especially with a great fight director, which we had. So the only man in the room was our fight director. Anyway, that's a little theater bit about violence and whatnot. I will recommend to you a podcast since I'm not going to give you a song here. I just started listening to Decoder Ring. I think it's a Slate podcast. And they analyze like some pop culture idea really thoroughly. So they'll like unpack why something is popular or what happened. They did this whole like interesting analysis of hotel art, which I found fascinating, particularly when they started to have a real conversation about what art is. Like if you put a piece of art in a hotel, does it lose its identity as art? Is it no longer art once you've put it in a hotel room? And I think it's an open question. It's really interesting. And also, I didn't realize, I think Super 8 motels had a whole sale of their previous art, like the really kitschy stuff, which sounded really hilarious. So there you are. I will see you not so far in the future this time, and with a song. So I don't know what to do here without playing you the song. I feel sort of bereft. I'm like, and here's not a song. I'm gonna just put a little tag here at the end to send you off, and I will keep working on this song by Poe that I'm working on for you, and it'll be at the end of the next one. So thank you for listening. Until next time.